Well, boys, we hit the jackpot this time.
Keegan is on the Zoom.
Oh, is that why you're here?
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Good. We'll get in the studio in a second here. I'm waiting for these guys to get out. But
All right.
how was last night?
It was good. It was good. It was surprising, but it was good.
That's good.
Mic check. Mic check. Test, test.
Testing. It's really low on my end.
All right. Let me get it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. Perfect.
Test.
Testing, testing.
Test, test, test.
Well, boys, we hit the jackpot this time. Well, boys, we hit the jackpot this time.
All right, 5 until intro music. All right, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Happy Friday, 573. You are listening to the Breakfast of Champions here on KCOU 88.1 FM, the student voice from Mizzou Athletics. I hope everybody in Columbia is having a great one thus far. Keegan Hartman, joined by Brandon Anthony. And while we may be a little remote right now, we got our boy Ryan Crothers joining us live back from Columbia. I got to check in on Ryan because we've been separated, and I want to see how he's doing. Ryan, how you living over there, my boy?
Yeah, it's a little wet over here. We've gotten some rain the past couple of days, so not ideal in that sense, but it's been good. I went golfing yesterday.
Ooh,
There you go.
In
Nice.
the rain?
Yeah, well, it wasn't raining at the start, and then it started raining pretty hard. Then it stopped by a little 2-man scramble with money on the line.
Oh,
You're gonna fight through the rain. It doesn't really matter.
That's awesome. You love to see it, Ryan.
Yeah.
Well,
And then a little CJs and some draft action. So that's
okay. Hey, you can't go
how my
wrong.
day went yesterday.
You can't
in the
go wrong.
afternoon, of course.
Hey, this man is a big segwayer. And I want to say, hey, shout out real quick. We got Jack McGrath in studio holding it down. Jack, how you doing back in studio? How you living? I think you can hear us.
I'm pretty good. I had myself on mute, guys, but I'm pretty good right now. Feeling good. I mean, as Ryan was saying, it's been raining here, but other than that, it's been chilling. I loved watching the draft last night. My Bears didn't have a first round pick, but other than that, it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, well, you guys bring up a good segue. I want to keep you both on the conversation here as we are live from Las Vegas, Nevada. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. You can watch. Go over to my Twitter at Keegan Hartman1, KCOU Sports YouTube page. We are on there. We are on Facebook Live. If you still use that, not sure a lot of 22-year-olds use it, but hey, I put it on there. So we got a lot to get into, a lot to break down. Yesterday, of course, as Jack and Ryan allude to, I won't say it was one for the books because I feel like I've seen another actually, you could probably make an argument. I don't know, Ryan or Brandon. I'm sorry, Ryan. Ryan, I can get your insight in a moment. But Brandon, I'm joined by Brandon Anthony live here in person in Vegas. Let's just start with the reaction from our end and just kind of paint the picture for you. We were in the media room for yesterday's action through the first round, and let me just say, our jaws dropped to the floor. Of course, the main headline was wide receiver A.J. Brown, Tennessee Titans wideout, was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for the 18th overall pick and a third-round pick. Titans ultimately draft Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, a guy Daniel Jeremiah actually had comped A.J. Brown to. A lot of people, Debo Samuel too. I think Charles Davis was his comp. Brandon, I'm going to start with you. This is the biggest story, shockingly, of all the draft. What was your reaction yesterday? I mean, I know your reaction, but tell the people what you thought.
Oh, I was surprised, Keegan, for sure, when we got the news. I mean, we were kind of just sitting there in the media room, and all of a sudden the news popped up to A.J. Brown. Actually, we got a hint from someone sitting across from us that the trade was about to go down before it was announced.
Wow.
And then it did happen, and we were all shocked. Our jaws were dropping. But if you're Tennessee, though, I think you can't go wrong with Treylon Burks, the guy they selected in replacement of A.J. Brown. Obviously, he's not going to be A.J. Brown right away, but he's a freakish athlete, a good route runner, kind of gave me a little bit DK Metcalf vibes
Yeah.
for the future for Tennessee. So not a bad replacement draft pick for Tennessee, but the steal really for the Eagles to get A.J. Brown. Now you got A.J. Brown alongside Devontae Smith. That Eagles receiving core is going to be quite scary come next year. So definitely a win for the Eagles in round one, getting A.J. Brown in exchange for one of their picks. And that just, you wonder what's going to happen with Deebo Samuel now after that too.
Especially when they're represented by the same agent. It could get interesting. Ryan, I want to swing it to you real quick. Your reaction yesterday when you saw A.J. Brown was basically traded for the 18th overall pick in a third round. I feel like they got a steal, Philly did. But what was your reaction?
I actually think the trade was very even.
Okay.
My initial reaction was steal for Philadelphia. I was like, wow, that is ridiculous of Tennessee. But if you think about it, Tennessee, they've done a horrible job at their cap space and these contracts. I mean, that Ryan Tannehill contract looks worse every time he throws a football in a clutch situation. But I don't know, like A.J. Brown, in my opinion, he's probably a top 7 receiver in the league. So I was shocked to see them just get rid of him. But, I mean, the fact that Philadelphia came to a deal with him like right away after the trade kind of tells me that this has been brewing for a while. And Tennessee got their guy that they wanted in the draft. So, and they get a third-round pick. That probably won't pan out. But, a lot of the times we do see these day 2 draft picks actually make a name for themselves. So I think it's a very fair trade if Burks can end up, how he wants to be or how they think he's going to be. It'll work out for a couple years and, maybe they don't have to pay him 4 years, $100 million.
Yeah. No, Jack, I want to bring you back in on the conversation, man. I know you're holding it down in studio. Again, Jack McGrath joining us in studio. Ryan over Zoom. Keegan Brandon here for the Breakfast of Champions. Jack, I got to get your insight, man.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this trade, first off, I think it was a steal for the Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown is, incrementally a lesser receiver than Tyreek Hill. Yeah. And the Chiefs got a whole lot more in the Tyreek Hill trade than the Titans did for the A.J. Brown trade. So A.J. Brown's also younger than Tyreek Hill. So the valuation there, I'm surprised the Titans didn't ask for a little bit more from the Eagles. But if you look at it realistically, if Treylon Burks is even close to what A.J. Brown is, and I know that was his player comp going into the draft, if he's somewhat close to what A.J. Brown is, they just saved $100 million for
that is true.
Years.
That's a good point.
That's the biggest part of this is that suddenly they have another receiver that they brought in, and they're saving $100 million in cap, as Ryan talked about. The issue here wasn't, I don't think, it's the contract. I don't think the talent level of A.J. Brown was really the biggest factor in this trade. It's how much can you drop off talent-wise, and how much is that talent drop-off worth in terms of cap space? And they probably evaluated that paying up A.J. Brown $100 million was not paying him out that $100 million was worth probably dropping off in talent a little bit to Treylon Burks.
I did read on Twitter yesterday. I sifted through it, and I want you guys' opinions. And since I started with Brandon, Ryan, I'm going to swing this one to you. Winners and losers of yesterday's draft. One of the losers was considered to be the Tennessee Titans. Do you kind of agree with that opinion about the Titans having to trade off, ship off? I don't know. Would you argue that A.J. Brown is a tier 1 receiver at this point in his career? He's early on in his career. But what do you think about that take as far as them being a loser from round 1 last night, essentially swapping out A.J. Brown for a younger Treylon Burks? What do you think about that take, Ryan?
I said earlier, I think A.J. Brown's top 7 wide receiver in the league. I do think he's a top tier receiver. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorite receivers in the league. And, I wouldn't consider them yesterday's biggest loser.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to think of a team that lost more than them.
Well, I mean, Green Bay,
I can't.
not lose, but I mean, there's a lot of losers out there as far as who missed their shot. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Did you have an extra?
Yeah. AJ Brown. I mean, that's such a big hole to fill. Burks is going to step in, and it's going to be him and Bobby Trees out there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. He's going to get a lot of experience, but yeah, it was right now, in the moment right now, it's easy to say that the Titans are big losers of the day.
Yeah.
But time will tell if that's going to hold, because what if Burks comes out and, he is an instant impact on the field like Justin Jefferson was or Jamar Chase was?
Yeah.
Then the Titans are going to look genius.
Yeah.
And they're going to look back and everyone's going to be like, you guys are stupid for saying this. Because personally, I don't think A.J. Brown is going to do that good in Philadelphia.
Wow.
The offense is completely different than Tennessee. The reason that A.J. Brown was so good in Tennessee is because it was a run-first offense.
Yeah.
Defenses had to worry about the run. And the play action, Tannehill is definitely one of the best play action quarterbacks in the league, maybe the best. And that's where it opened up A.J. Brown. And honestly, like throwing the ball wise, I do think Tannehill's better at throwing the ball than Hurts. I'm a big Hurts guy, but I don't know. I don't see A.J. Brown having near as the success in Philadelphia as he did in Tennessee. I think that was a perfect system for A.J. Brown. But in a system where he doesn't have a top tier throwing quarterback, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be that great, but I don't know. Time will tell. Right now, I think it's a very, very fair trade. But I seem to be in the minority in that.
Brandon, what do you think?
In terms of a loser, I actually kind of had a thought of a sleeper that I wanted to shout out. The Minnesota Vikings were sitting at the 12th pick and traded out of the first round, I believe. They could have had Kyle Hamilton or someone at that position, or maybe another wide receiver to pair with Justin Jefferson. Instead, traded out of the second round. I just feel like they missed their shot on adding a pure either defensive player or a top-notch wide receiver. Obviously, they traded with Detroit, and Jamison Williams ended up going with that pick from Alabama. So I think the Vikings for sure, obviously Kevin O'Connell, newly hired coach there. And I guess they were trying to trade bad to get more picks, but I just feel like with the first round with the new coach, I just felt like they should have made a move and tried to add another player. That would have been a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball, because that's something Minnesota has been struggling with. But that's kind of my loser in terms of the whole Tennessee situation, kind of along the lines of what Jack was saying too. There's the whole Treylon Burks, and if he's even close to kind of A.J. Brown in terms of like production, I feel like it could be a big win in the long term for Tennessee, getting A.J. Brown off his hands, not paying him all that money. And I just find it baffling that we didn't really hear about A.J. Brown up until then. I'm sure Ari, when he's on our show second half, will provide more depth into that. But I just feel like we didn't hear anything about A.J. Brown. It was all Deebo Samuel, and then he was the one that got shipped off. So very interesting there. We'll see. Like I said earlier, we'll see what happens with Deebo, but that was something I found very interesting also.
You bring up two good points. First and foremost, so we won't be on air for hour number 2. We're going to go off air, but stay on the stream, because hour number 2, we're going to have PFF's NFL insider, NFL analyst at My Sports Update via Twitter. Ari Meirov is going to join the show and kind of talk about some of yesterday's action. One of the points that we're going to bring up, obviously, A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel are represented by the same agent, but likewise, I'm just now getting this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get this pulled up. A little bit of news coming out of the sports books right now. The Minnesota Vikings have moved up from 5,000 odds to plus 340 to take Malik Willis out of Liberty. Don't know if there's any merit to that, but it could look like that the Vikings are in the market for a quarterback, maybe to play under an apprenticeship under Kirk Cousins. Jack, you're the NFC North guy of the conversation, the Bears. What do you think about Malik Willis potentially kind of sitting behind Kirk Cousins, maybe for a year, possibly even competing for the starting role? Just a hypothetical. I mean, how do you think that would bode for a guy like Malik?
Yeah, so Malik Willis he's a raw talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was his profile coming into the draft. There wasn't any really sure things at the quarterback position coming in this season. And for Willis to sit behind a guy like Cousins, I don't hate that at all. I think that's actually one of the better spots he could wind up in. A couple of names I was throwing out with the guys I was seeing with watching the draft last night, that would be like ideal spots for Malik Willis. I think Minnesota would be one of those spots. He comes in with a strong receiving core.
Yeah.
He sits behind a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's a good pocket passer.
Mm-hmm.
Willis is a good runner. Willis can do a little bit of everything, but he's got a strong arm. If he can build pocket passing underneath Kirk Cousins, he's going to be in a great spot. The other team we actually threw out last night was Tampa Bay. If Malik Willis could go to Tampa Bay, sit behind Tom Brady for 2 years, learn all the pocket passing skills he could need from Tom Brady, suddenly you're looking at a really great quarterback who can make a lot of really great reads and has the athleticism, the arm strength, and the speed to kind of pull off something pretty fantastic. So I think that's a great spot for him. Cousins' big contract isn't going away anytime soon, but he's only getting older. And the Vikings have shown maybe Kirk Cousins isn't the huge difference maker that they need. Like, he's a solid quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably a top 15 quarterback in the league. There's arguments to be had. He's even better than that. But he's not the difference maker that's going to put you over the top. If they're looking for a difference maker in year 2 or year 3 for Malik Willis, I mean, he could be that guy.
That's a good point that you bring up. I mean, when you look at Liberty, and obviously it's kind of unfair and invalid to compare certain situations, specifically when it comes from a collegiate, what's the word? A collegiate level to a professional level. When you're looking at Liberty, a lot of the knocking on Malik was, oh, he throws a lot of incomplete passes. Some of them are overthrows, mistimed throws in general. Can't really navigate the pocket. Struggles to read the defense. But a lot of this falls back on the situation he was submerged in. You got to keep in mind, he was the first quarterback to have a double-digit win season since 2007 for Liberty. Likewise, this is the first time that the Liberty Flames had ever been above 300 for 3 consecutive seasons in terms of a winning record. I think of with the situation he was submerged in under Hugh Freeze at Liberty, he didn't have any talent around him. I mean, Antonio Gandy-Golden, who was like a top-tier receiver but ended up going like second, third round 2 years ago, and now he's out of the league. Like, he didn't have anybody to support him, and I think that the small school narrative is very invalid, and I really don't think there's a lot of tweaking to his game other than the talent that you put him around. Guys like Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook in the backfield, these would really elevate his stock as a player. And I really think that would be a good fit for him to kind of, you're giving him the right setup. You're giving him the right set of tools to develop. I don't know. What do you think, Brandon? You're the Minnesota guy. You're from Minnesota. Skull Vikes.
Yeah. Skull Vikes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect situation for Malik Willis if he ends up going to Minnesota. Like I was kind of saying earlier when we were on the hot corner, shout out to Patrick, Logan, and Michael, by the way.
Shout out to the boys.
We were kind of discussing Malik Willis. I kind of said that because of all that raw talent, like Jack mentioned, I felt like he wasn't as highly touted it depended on the situation in terms of how well he would do in the NFL. I feel like a place like Minnesota where you got an established veteran like Kirk Cousins, I think will be important. Place like Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, I think it's kind of similar to what we saw with Trey Lance last year and the type of suitor that he landed with San Francisco, where they already had a veteran in place that kind of learned behind him. I think it's going to be kind of the same thing. Obviously, Lance was a little bit more hyped up last year, but Malik Willis, I feel like if he can get in a good situation, he'll be able to have success learning behind a veteran quarterback for sure.
Definitely going to be interesting to watch, considering there was one quarterback taken. I don't know. I want to ask Ryan first. Ryan, you're the gambling man. We're in Vegas. I feel like a degenerate already. Tonight I'm going to go to the sports books to see it for the first time, and I'm probably going to get carded 5,000 times, but that doesn't matter. I want to ask in regards to the over-under here on quarterbacks. We were all going around the media room yesterday. Hey, over under 3.5 quarterbacks. And you know me, I always got to take the over. I'm like 4 quarterbacks, take it or leave it. And to my surprise, I would be in debt if I would have bet the house on it. What were you sitting at? What were you looking at going into the draft tomorrow about the quarterback class? Over under 3.5, I guess. I'll set the line for you. What do you think? What were you thinking, I guess?
Well, life is too short to bet the under. It's one of my favorite things out there. But in this situation, I even asked my friend Dylan, who I was sharing some wings with and a couple brews with him watching the draft.
Knocking him back. Let's go.
Yep. Also fellow Bronco fan.
Hey, go Broncos.
So I know you'd like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, Dylan, I don't even think a quarterback's gonna be taken in the first round.
Wow.
Look at you.
Okay.
He was like, we're at like pick 4 at this point. He was like, really? I think quarterbacks can be taken at pick 6 by
Oh,
Carolina. And I was like, yeah, that would make sense, but
I'll take your money.
yeah, none of these quarterbacks are good, in my opinion. I don't think a single quarterback in this draft is gonna really make it in the NFL. So I didn't, and I think I knew, or I felt that GMs kind of feel the same way. There's no franchise quarterback coming out of this draft. So
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, they kind of had to.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of had to take a quarterback there. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I would have had the under for sure.
It's crazy how the board fell to Pittsburgh's favor. It's almost like they anticipated it, and that the other 19 picks weren't going to get a guy. I'm going to ask you, Jack, before I swing it over to Brandon, because I thought I knew. He took the. Did you take the under on the 4 or the 3.5, Brandon?
I think I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what I did.
Jack, what was your assumption going into last night? I know we talked. You had us on the Analytics Association. Big shout out to you and your show. We love what you're doing. I forgot. I had a brain fart. What was the under on the? Did you take the under over on the quarterback forecast?
I was under yesterday on the quarterback forecast. I think my question for you yesterday was, will a quarterback go in the top 10? I wasn't imagining that a quarterback wouldn't go until number 20, but yeah, I was on the under both.
Man, and I really thought Malik Willis was going to go, but yeah, I guess it's just so unpredictable. But anyway, all right. So when we come back, obviously round 1 is done, and now we look to night number 2. And there's going to be a lot of movement, as there is still a lot of talent out there that can definitely be addressed. We'll look to kind of answer and see where everybody's going to go, kind of navigate these first few picks and see what we think might happen. So stick around, because after the break, all 4 of these amigos, me, Brandon, Ryan, and Jack in the studio, big shout out to the man holding it down, we're all going to preview round 2 and 3 and maybe project some shockers. I don't know. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Breakfast of Champions here on KCOU 88.1 FM, student voice from Mizzou Athletics. See you on the other side. Coolio. The Zoom?
Yeah. Ryan said it was only a handful of minutes.
Oh, geez. I thought it was only was it 9 a.m.? He's still on the Zoom, so it doesn't. Yeah, I think we're good. I was checking to see how long the Zoom was. I was like, was the Zoom on a time limit? I don't think it was. I mean, we're still on. Oh. Well, I'll fix it. Give me 1 second. How do you add the meeting? Yeah, give me a little bit more. I'm gonna try to get this resolved. Thank you, sir. Statistics, nothing. Keyboard, nope. Profile, no. Background, nope. Oh, look, they got the golden. Okay. Zoom, chat, share screen, audio, video, nope. Keyboard. Sometimes it's just too early in the morning to Zoom, boys. Let's see. Lovely. yeah, I probably do need to extend it, but I'm not finding it. So I'll figure it out on the end. We should be good. We should be good for at least this duration. Oh. What's that? Nope. Okay.
All right, I've got you guys. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Back here live from Las Vegas, Nevada, the home of the 2022 NFL Draft and a whole lot of degeneracy. Keegan Hartman, Brandon Anthony, live in Vegas. Viva. We also got Ryan Crothers holding it down in 573. Big shout out to him. And big shout out to Mr. Jack McGrath. Also, oh, hey, look there. Hey, speaking of which, so it said running out of time. We got 40 minutes left on the Zoom. It just popped up on the notification. I'll get to you later. Jack, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Keegan. I'm seeing the Zoom time up there. We'll be okay. We'll we'll be on air for a good long while here. But yeah, I'm doing great.
Good. Ryan, you doing good still, man?
My Zoom says 9 minutes left. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. All right. Well, tell you what. I'll let my good friend here, Mr. Brandon Anthony, kind of break down this next segment as we're getting into the second round and the third round of the 2022 NFL Draft taking place tonight. You can catch that on NFL. It'll be on NFL Network, ESPN at 6 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have your coverage at 2 p.m. After this, we're going to get ready to go over and get set up. And then we'll have a pre-show, or at least try, and then try to preview everything. But I want to talk with you guys. I'm going to swing it to Brandon, try to get the Zoom fixed. Brandon, what are your expectations heading into night number 2 of the 2022 NFL Draft?
I think we're going to see it's going to be a lot similar to night 1. We're going to see a lot of potential shocking moves. There's a lot of good players still on the board. Breece Hall from Iowa State, running back. There hasn't been a running back taken. Obviously, you got the majority of quarterbacks still. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more trade-ups for guys, as you know, cornerbacks and safeties are pretty deep in this class, as well as tackles. So we'll see what happens. What do you guys think, Ryan and Jack, about round 2 and the potential for some trades, or who do you guys think? Who are you guys keeping an eye on to watch tonight to go?
For me, I think it's the Green Bay Packers is the team to keep an eye on at this point, because Aaron Rodgers needs his offensive players, and they still haven't done that yet. Green Bay has a few picks in round 2 and round 3, so I'd expect them to go receiver at some point. If they don't, I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah, same kind of feeling with the Baltimore Ravens. Actually, they trade away their number 1 guy, Marquise Brown, little Hollywood Brown, and now who I know he's not that good at throwing, but who's Lamar Jackson going to even throw it to now besides Mark Andrews? What, you think Bateman or Duvernay are going to do it? So I think they need to go out and get themselves a wide receiver as well. But like Jack said, I mean, honestly, year in, year out, it is absolutely hilarious watching the Packers not draft help for Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. I know that's a hot take, but I find it hilarious that they just continuously screw him over with his help. I do like their draft picks. I think, their defense is going to be a lot better with those picks, but my goodness.
Well, yeah. To be fair, in the Packers' defense, at the time they were picking, the majority of the top wide receivers were off the board. I think that was when Treylon just got picked up after the whole A.J. Brown trade. So I didn't really see them at the top of the board, stretching for a wide receiver there. So I like their picks. But yeah, to your guys' point, it seems like year in and year out, Aaron Rodgers is always asking for more weapons and they never address it. So I would definitely like to see them go wide receiver. In terms of some of the quarterbacks, there's still quarterback needy teams. I see that could potentially take a quarterback with their second-round pick. The New York Giants obviously didn't pick up the option for Daniel Jones. Seattle still yet to take a quarterback. I know we talked about that a little bit. Along with Minnesota, who we talked about, Malik Willis might end up there. There was some interest there. And in New Orleans, so a lot of teams early on in the second round. Is this an opportunity in the second round where we're going to see start to see a lot of quarterbacks go off the board here early? What do you guys think about that?
100%. No doubt in my mind that we're going to start seeing the quarterback run here. I'm a little more hesitant based on the limited number of quarterbacks we saw go in round one. But the teams at the top, I mean, they really do need a quarterback, and guys like Willis and Corral aren't going to stick around till the third round, I don't think. So those are the next two on the board for me, and I'm assuming that's the next two on the board for most NFL teams. So, I mean, I'm looking at the Texans right now. That's a team that could go quarterback. You mentioned the Giants as a team. New Orleans could certainly go quarterback. The team I'm actually keeping an eye on, too, is the Atlanta Falcons in round two here. Marcus Mariota is their starter right now. That's a bridge quarterback. That's not the future. If Corral's available at one of their two picks in the second round, I would not doubt that that's the route they go at this point. So I look out for Atlanta to be a sleeper to take a quarterback.
I can confirm that the Falcons are interested in Matt Corral. That's a guy that they valued really high heading into the draft, and I would venture to say that that's going to be their guy tonight. Ryan, what do you think? Sorry about that.
No, I mean, I can't confirm it, but I think that'd be smart.
Yeah.
They currently do not have a quarterback, so you'll get one.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. Just like, honestly, look, I'm a big J-Mo Winston guy, right? But the Saints the Saints should probably take quarterback too.
Yeah. Hey.
I mean, let's be honest. They need a quarterback. Other than that, I can't think of any teams off the top of my head that are desperate for a quarterback. Maybe the Commanders, they might want to take one, the Texans. But I don't know. And honestly, the Lions, I don't know how you're going to go with Jared Goff for another year, but they're going to have to. It's probably Jared Goff. Probably better than he's probably better than a rookie quarterback right away, especially from the second round. So
I feel like for Jameis though, in New Orleans, I feel like Malik Willis learning behind Jameis Winston, like that's the worst possible spot he could land in as somebody to learn from, and being a big armed quarterback who can run. I mean, Jameis Winston's not the guy you want to go teach him how to do that. That's going to be another 30 interception, 30 touchdown season out of Malik Willis then.
We got to eat that W.
That'd be impressive to see Jameis Winston have a predecessor end up being exactly like him.
30 for 30.
That'd be hilarious.
I think everyone wins in that situation besides New Orleans, which would be awesome. But no, you're right. That is a horrible place for him to go and learn behind. But I mean, Tampa Bay, if they, I know someone mentioned it earlier, but he could sit behind Tom Brady for a year or two. Like that's a good place. And then, because we all know Tampa Bay is going to be irrelevant again after Tom Brady retires for the second time. But you might as well keep yourself relevant and have a quarterback sit under him. But to be fair, the last quarterback to sit under him for a while was Jimmy G, and he sucks. So maybe not.
That's facts.
Hey, real quick, we usually have a fantastic Friday, and now I'm having a frustrated Friday. First and foremost, when did Zoom start charging for minutes? I just paid $14 for an unlimited minutes. What is this? I own an iPhone. I've got unlimited data. What? Why? It's not a cell phone. Why are we buying minutes now? I thought Zoom was complimentary. What the heck? Why am I paying $14.99 for a freaking Zoom call? I don't want to banter. And I got to keep the show going. They were gonna shut down the Zoom. It really, you need $14.99 that much just to shut down? Zoom's gonna end. You got 3 minutes left. That's so ridiculous. Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to banter there, but it was a frustrated Friday, not a feel good. I could have put that 15 on a 3-leg parlay.
I can't believe they actually charged you for unlimited minutes.
Could have made plus money, and now I got to bet on the Zoom parlay, bet the over on the minutes. All right, so now we got a segue here. I want some bold predictions in terms of, maybe some movement, maybe some trades. We're also obviously going to be talking about Ari, like it or not. We're going to have to ask him the question regarding Deebo Samuel and about Baker Mayfield, maybe where those sit and what's the status on those. But kind of you guys' expectations heading into this draft, what would make it entertaining, I guess, more so? You could mention it as a bold prediction. What would you like to see come out of tonight's festivities, I guess? You know what, Brandon, I'll start with you. Go right ahead, bub.
I think we have the potential of seeing one of the two remaining veterans get traded tonight, whether that's Baker Mayfield or whether that's Jimmy Garoppolo. Because I just feel like, again, quarterback class not as strong. We already saw that in round one. I feel like if a team really wants to kind of get a guy that they can rely on right away to win now, a team that has sort of a coach that's more on the hot seat, for example, like Carolina, they didn't go quarterback round one. They got Matt Rule, who's trying to save his job and prove he's the man in Carolina. If that's the case, I can definitely see them potentially trading in the second round, although I don't think they have a second-round pick. So, but, I think Baker Mayfield and Jimmy Garoppolo should be the two to watch. I think they can potentially be traded to a quarterback-needy team tonight, second round.
That translation. I'm hoping Jimmy G gets traded.
That's basically what I'm saying. I'm tired of him.
Okay, fair enough. You threw Baker in there as the upsell.
I threw Baker in there. Yeah.
Nice. I get it. All right. Ryan, what do you think, man? Bold predictions, any expectations? What you looking for?
I don't think it's very bold, but I said this before the draft. I don't think Deebo or Baker or Jimmy G are going to get traded at all during the draft. I don't see it happening. I don't think. I don't know. Look, I would have said yesterday that you almost never see huge, big name blockbuster trades during the draft.
Huge.
I would have been wrong. AJ Brown, and honestly, nowhere near a blockbuster trade, but Marquise Brown getting traded away that's a big trade too. But not even the biggest trade of the day for wide receivers yesterday. But I don't know. I don't see any of those three getting traded today. I could see it happening in a couple weeks. I don't know if either of those quarterbacks are going to get traded at all, unless a team doesn't get the quarterback they won the draft and wants to try and be relevant. But I do see, we didn't talk about this team taking a quarterback a quarterback in the first round. We did not talk about this team, but you know who's going to take Malik Willis, don't you? Your Seattle Seahawks, Brandon Anthony, Malik Willis. I think
it's a possibility. I can see that.
I think if he's there in the 9th pick in the second round, I think they'll take him. That is a value pick there.
They got picks 40 and 41, so they have two picks back to back, and they most certainly can take a quarterback in one of those picks.
Yeah, I think they take Malik with one of those picks if he's there, and and then he could learn from Drew Lock, and there's no better quarterback to learn from in the world than Drew Lock. So obviously I'm kidding there, but I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting day for sure. I just hope as a Broncos fan that David Ojabu falls to us.
Well, I like how you got to that because that is he is a priority on their board right now, and that's coming out of their camp. That is being reported, and that's who I expect Denver to take. tonight. I think that they're going to try at their best to move up. Of course, they tried to trade. They did trade for a trade up to get Javonte Williams last year, and they did it when Cortland Sutton came out. So they've been notorious for moving up. Obviously, Sutton was under Elway's regime, this one under Peyton's. But I do think that they make a play for an edge. It could be Ojabo, or it could be Ebikidi. But I think if they're within reach and within compensation, I think the Denver Broncos are going to make a play and address that as their first point of emphasis. But anyway, Jack, to your point.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield get traded today. I'm looking at Baker Mayfield, right? I'm looking up and down the teams. He doesn't make sense to start on any single team this season, right? I mean, look at who needs a quarterback, though. For the most part, every single contender who's a quarterback away is set up at the position with somebody who's just as good as or better than Baker Mayfield going into next season. And every single team that might have a needed quarterback should be looking for a younger answer, like Seattle, for example. Baker Mayfield would start over Drew Lock in Seattle, but the answer for Seattle currently is not Baker Mayfield. That doesn't put them over the top. They probably need a younger guy because they're looking to rebuild a little bit, and Baker Mayfield's not the answer. You go Drew Lock as the bridge quarterback there. Same thing in Atlanta. You'd rather go Marcus Mariota at this point as a bridge quarterback and get somebody younger than Baker Mayfield. I really don't think he moves at this point. I don't think he moves in general. I think the best move for Baker Mayfield at this point is to sit out the season in Cleveland and maybe hope that Deshaun Watson, for him personally, winds up not playing this year for some reason or another, and he's able to win a starting job back and maybe prove himself at some point, or maybe even do a midseason trade where he can win a starting job back. I don't think he has any huge value right now at the moment, so I don't think he moves. I disagree with you, though, on the receivers. I think the receiver market was kind of reset a little bit last night with the A.J. Brown trade because we saw a haul for Tyreek Hill and we saw less of a haul for A.J. Brown. So I think Deebo Samuel, I was thinking no doubt about it, there has to be a first-round pick this year in any trade for Deebo Samuel. I don't know if I agree with that anymore. I think if you pair a first-round pick next year with a second-round pick this year, that might get the job done for a guy like Deebo Samuel, especially if he's refusing to play running back at this point. So I think Deebo Samuel and DK Metcalf are probably still on the block going forward, and I wouldn't be surprised if either of them move tonight.
Brandon, you're breathing pretty heavy. Sounds like you want to give a topic. What do you give insight on the topic? What do you got to say about the old Deebo Samuel situation?
Oh, I just think
let him go.
I just feel there's been rumors that Lynch was offered several first-round picks for Deebo Samuel, and he denied them all. So I feel like if he was denying, multiple first-round picks in the first round, then I don't think he's going to go for anything in the second round either. I honestly think Deebo Samuel, the game for the Niners is going to be just to have him on the roster for now, maybe try to work things out with him. If not, then eventually deal him, but I don't see him going tonight.
I think at this point it would have to be a player, and it would have to be some, high value in pick compensation for future drafts. Last night we talked about the Jets picking at 10. They took Garrett Wilson. Well, on the phone, not a lot of people know, behind closed doors leading up to that pick, and I mean minutes before it was selected, they were on the phone with the San Francisco 49ers, and they were trying to work a deal to send Deebo Samuel to the New York Jets. It had been going down all day. Really, the past 48 hours previous to round one, it was kind of one of the things that was working. But eventually they couldn't agree on a compensation, and thus prompting the New York Jets to take Ohio State wide receiver Garrett Wilson, which in many respects, I mean, he provides the same speed as well. Is he a dynamic guy like Deebo? No, obviously. But, I mean, you can still get some of the same work out of Garrett Wilson in terms of the receiver play. I do think, though, that the window of opportunity for Deebo to go at least tonight is probably slim to none. And I think it's going to be one of those things that you just got to watch play out, maybe even leading into the season before the trade deadline. Could be something interesting to monitor, but in the foreseen future, I just think the window for them to move on from Deebo was yesterday, and that fell through. So they could throw a curveball tomorrow. I'm not for certain. If John Lynch was to take a second for Deebo, this guy would change his 49ers gear in an instant and probably be a free agent in terms of fan bases. but I don't foresee it happening. So we'll see. I guess that they're the big shots, not me. But I think one thing I would want to see tonight for me, I think I'm too biased towards the defense and the linebackers and the edges. And I think a lot of teams are going to move fast to get guys like Nakobe Dean is still on the board, the linebacker from Georgia. Again, David Ojabo, who tore his Achilles, but could there be movement for him? I expect there to be. Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, excuse me. Boye Mafe from Minnesota. I mean, there are a lot of dynamic rushers that are still in this draft, and I think that could get a chance to go relatively early. Chad Muma from Wyoming. I just think there's going to be a lot of movement on that front, and I think it's going to be entertaining to see how the dominoes fall and which one goes first. But definitely the point of emphasis for me is going to be that aspect. So, all right. Well, we've pretty much went over just about everything. This is going to kind of conclude. I mean, unless we have any kind of final points before we go to a little bit of a break, and then at 9:05 our time, 11:05 Central Time, we're going to bring on Ari Meirov of PFF. You can follow him at My Sports Update. We're going to talk to him on the live, but we're going to go off air for our A stream. So, any kind of final thoughts before we wrap this one up and then move into the second hour? Anybody?
NHL playoffs start next week.
Yeah, he's got to get the hockey in there.
Get his hockey in.
Oh man, hey, I saw the Avs Blues game the other night. I watched it. Was like the second to last game before the playoffs start. Yeah, they played pretty good.
Yeah, they wanted to choke it at the end, but it was a very, very good game. I watched that with my roommate who's a Blues fan, so very fun watching.
As you like to say, the bandwagon Blues fans.
Yeah, he is actually one of like the 10 Blues fans in the whole world that was not a bandwagon, so I'll give him credit. But May 2nd, NHL playoffs start. It's probably going to be Avs Stars, so see if they could get their revenge from 2 years ago in the bubble. But Vegas didn't make it, and everyone in the world is happy about that. If you want to laugh a little bit, just go on like Twitter or something and look at all like the NHL teams and all the NHL fans coming together, making fun of Vegas for missing the playoffs. Everyone hates them. So that was a very cheerful moment the other day. And my NHL plug is over.
Okay, hey Jack, real quick. I know we had this talk back in February with the Analytics Association. Everybody was giving me crap because I made the call about the Boston Celtics being the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and I said the two most vulnerable teams right now were Philly and Brooklyn. Now, I haven't kept up with the Philly-Toronto series, so I don't know what it's at right now. Last I checked, it was 3-2, but I've been sleeping for a couple of days. But the Brooklyn and Boston series is what I watched. And to see Boston come out and make a statement like they did, hey, guys, I just want to tell you this. I called it, okay? So I called Boston being one of the most dominant teams and one of the scariest teams to watch coming into, now they got to play Milwaukee, which I think is the best team in the Eastern Conference. But Jack, how do you forecast the remainder of the playoffs, and what's your expectation heading into the Eastern and Western Conferences?
Yes, so Philly won last night, actually. They beat the Raptors, so
Okay.
they made sure the comeback wasn't happening. Doc Rivers was pretty upset when he was asked about it multiple times in the media, but Philly won it last night. I mean, the Eastern Conference, man, that is tough right there. Boston was so impressive. I think they have a legitimate chance against Milwaukee.
Yes, sir.
And it's looking like Chris Middleton's not going to be back for a good bit now. So without Chris Middleton, it's really going to come down to Giannis and Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
And Grayson Allen went off in the series against the Bulls. I don't see him doing that against Boston. I think Boston's a lot deeper defensively. Marcus Smart versus Giannis is probably the matchup going forward there. I mean, that's Defensive Player of the Year versus the MVP. So it's going to be fun to watch. That's one of the most interesting series. Then Miami versus Philadelphia, too. The Eastern Conference is just so strong defensively. I think Philadelphia is actually the odd team out there, even though they might have the most talent. Their defensive pressure is just not the same. So I think it's going to come down to the other three teams. We got really two really good series here. If I'm going to predict it coming out of the East, I think Boston actually probably beats Milwaukee in this series. Miami beats Philadelphia. Then Miami, Boston. That's a 7-game series right there. But right now, I like Boston coming out of the East. They played so well against Brooklyn. Keegan, I got to give you credit for calling that one. That was wow, impressive.
Let's go. Hey, real quick, before we go, close this out. Brandon, I got to ask, first and foremost, did Minnesota lose the series already?
Minnesota plays Game 6 tonight in Minneapolis against Memphis. So if they lose, they're done. If they win, force Game 7. So we'll see what happens.
They're done.
They're probably done.
Memphis is moving
They're
on.
probably done, yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, hey, night 2 of tonight's coverage. We're going to start a pre-show at 2 p.m., even though everybody and their brother is going to be using the same Wi-Fi as us. Hopefully we can get a separate network. If not, sorry, rain check. We'll have to go tonight. But anyway, first pick, 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. our time, Pacific Time, if you're on the Pacific. Me and Brendan are going to have that coverage live from the media room. And then hey, Ryan, open invite. If you want to come in, pop in, say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Drink a brew, watch the game, whatever you want to do. We're open arms. So if you ever want to pop in and say, hey, we're cool to check in.
Unfortunately, my mom is flying into Colombia in 2 hours.
Fair enough.
We have our mom's weekend this weekend,
Okay.
and I'm going to a formal tonight. So unfortunately, I am unable to attend. However, I wish you guys nothing but the best. And
appreciate it, man.
please, if you guys go to bed anytime before 4 a.m., you are not doing Vegas correctly.
I had to go to bed at 9 p.m. last night. All right. With that being said, Keegan Hartman, Brandon Anthony in Vegas, Mr. Ryan Crothers joining us on Zoom, Jack McGrath holding it down in studio. This has been hour number 1 of our draft coverage. Switch over to the live. Watch us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We got Ari Meirov coming up in about 10 minutes. With that being said, so long from Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll see you next week in Studio A. This has been the Breakfast of Champions on KCOU 88.1 FM. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for holding it down in studio. Coolio. Ryan, enjoy your formal. All right. Say hello to Mrs. Crothers for me. All right, guys. I guess we will see you later. We're going to prepare for Ari to come on, so. All right, see you, boys.
Well, boys, we hit the jackpot this time. Well, boys, we hit the jackpot this time.